Commander Adam Clark stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Guardian, watching as the massive alien ship approached. His palms were sweaty despite the climate control of his uniform. This was humanity's first official meeting with the HFY Empire. "They're hailing us, sir," said Lieutenant Olivia Martinez from her communication station. Clark nodded, straightening his posture. On screen, the view screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, reptilian creature with iridescent scales and 4 amber eyes. The Universal Translator had been working overtime to decipher their language since first detection 3 weeks ago. "I am High Emissary Zortak of the HFY Empire," the alien said, its voice translated into a metallic approximation of human speech. "We claim this sector in the name of Emperor Kaxnar the Eternal." Clark stepped forward. "I am Commander Adam Clark of the Earth Defense Fleet. We welcome peaceful contact, but this sector includes our homeworld and colonies. We've inhabited this region for centuries." The HFY emissary's upper eyes narrowed. "Your presence was unexpected. Our scouts reported no advanced civilizations in this arm of the galaxy." "Perhaps your scouts didn't look closely enough," Clark replied carefully. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your technology is primitive by our standards. Your fastest ships barely reach light speed. Your weapons are rudimentary. The Emperor is generous. Surrender now and become a protectorate of the Empire. Your people will be treated fairly." Clark felt his jaw tighten. "With respect, we are not interested in surrender. Earth wishes to establish diplomatic relations as equals." "Equals?" The emissary's scales shifted color slightly. "You misunderstand. The HFY do not negotiate with primitives. We have conquered 1,200 worlds across 3 galactic arms. Your species will join our empire, either willingly or by force." The transmission ended abruptly. Martinez looked up from her console. "They've closed the channels." "Sir." Clark turned to his executive officer, Commander Ryan Foster. "Send everything we have to Earth Command. We need to prepare." Within days, the United Earth government convened an emergency session. Representatives from all nations gathered to address the HFY threat. General Laura Hayes, head of Earth Defense, stood before the assembly. "The HFY Empire has given us 48 hours to surrender. Based on our scans of their vessels, they possess technology centuries beyond our own." President Sophia Reyes raised her hand. "And if we refuse?" "They'll attack," Hayes answered simply. "Their fleet is positioning itself near Saturn's orbit." Clark, seated among the military advisors, spoke up. "We've analyzed their communications. The HFY have conquered dozens of species, but all of them surrendered quickly. They've never faced significant resistance." "Are you suggesting we can fight them?" someone asked incredulously. Clark stood. "I'm suggesting they don't know what humans are capable of. They see our technology and assume we're weak. But technology isn't everything." President Reyes studied him. "What do you propose, Commander?" "We need information. Their weaknesses, their tactics. I request permission to lead a small reconnaissance fleet. We need to see how they fight before we can develop counters." The room erupted in debate, but General Hayes silenced them. "It's risky, but Commander Clark is right. We need intelligence." 2 days later, Clark stood on the Guardian's bridge again as his small fleet of 5 ships prepared to depart. Earth had officially rejected the HFY ultimatum. Course plotted to the edge of E-space, Martins reported. Clark nodded, watching as the blue curve of Earth disappeared behind them. He didn't know if he would see it again. "The HFY have never fought humans before," he said quietly. "They have no idea what they're in for." As the Guardian accelerated toward the darkness of deep space, Clark wondered if humanity truly stood a chance against this ancient empire. But one thing was certain: they wouldn't surrender without a fight. Lieutenant Olivia Martinez hunched over her workstation aboard the Guardian, her eyes burning from lack of sleep. For 3 weeks, Clark's scout fleet had lurked in the shadows of the HFY Empire's outer territories, gathering vital intelligence while avoiding detection. "I think I've got something," Martines whispered to Commander Clark, who stood silently behind her. She pointed to the data readings on her screen. "Our sensors detected unusual energy fluctuations in their shield systems when they changed power settings." Clark leaned closer. "A weakness?" "Maybe." She ran her fingers through her short black hair. "Their shields are incredibly powerful, but they cycle through frequencies in a predictable pattern. If we time our attacks just right, there might be microsecond vulnerabilities." Before Clark could respond, Lieutenant Sam Wilson rushed onto the bridge. "Commander, we've got movement. A Terethi battle group just entered the system." The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the massive alien fleet surrounded a small planet. On the main view screen, they could see the indigenous species, tall, slender beings with pale blue skin, sending desperate transmissions. "They're begging for mercy," Wilson translated, "saying they'll surrender." The Exarethi response came swiftly and without warning. Energy weapons lanced from their ships, cutting through the planet's minimal defenses. Within minutes, the alien civilization's orbital platforms were reduced to debris. "My God," Clark muttered, "record everything." They watched in horror as the Exarethi methodically deployed troops to the surface. The conquest was quick, efficient, and brutal. Any resistance was met with overwhelming force. "They don't adapt their tactics," Martinez observed, her voice tight with emotion. "It's the same approach with every target. Maximum force, standard formation. No variation." Clark nodded grimly. "They've never needed to adapt. Their technological advantage has always been enough." For 3 more days, the human fleet shadowed the Exarathi forces, recording their battle strategies and communication patterns. Martinez worked tirelessly, developing a prototype stealth system that masked their energy signatures by mimicking space debris. On the 4th day, their luck ran out. "Proximity alert," Wilson shouted. "Exarathi patrol ship, closing fast." Clark's decision was immediate. "All ships, emergency jump protocols. Martinez, deploy your stealth buoys to cover our retreat." The Guardian shuddered as a Tarathi energy beam grazed their hull. Systems flickered across the bridge. "Engine room reports damage to the FTL drive," Wilson reported, his face pale. "We can't jump." Clark gripped the command chair. "Get me a direct channel to Earth. Maximum encryption. The rest of the fleet needs to jump now." The other 4 ships disappeared in flashes of light as Martinez frantically worked her console. "Channel open, sir, but the Exarathi will detect the transmission," she warned. Clark leaned toward the communications array. "This is Commander Clark. We've gathered critical intelligence on Exarathi capabilities. They're powerful but inflexible. Weak points identified in shield systems and tactical doctrine. Guardian is compromised. The rest of the data is being transmitted now." The ship rocked violently as another blast hit them. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. "Transmission complete," Martinez confirmed, a small smile crossing her face despite the dire situation. "They got everything." Clark nodded. "All hands to escape pods. Set the Guardian to self-destruct." As the crew scrambled to evacuate, Clark and Martinez remained on the bridge, ensuring the data was purged from their systems. "You know that Exarathi will likely capture some pods," Martinez said quietly. Clark met her gaze. "Then we give them something to think about." He opened a channel to the approaching Exarathi vessels. "This is Commander Adam Clark of Earth. You've never fought humans before, and you have no idea what you're in for. Our advice: run." He cut the transmission as Martinez laughed despite their situation. "Think they'll take your advice?" she asked as they headed for the last escape pod. Clark shook his head. "No, and that's their first mistake." Dr. Nathan Patel stood before the Earth Defense Council, presenting his findings from Commander Clark's data. His normally neat lab coat was wrinkled from days without sleep, but his eyes burned with intensity. "The Exarathi shields operate on a predictable frequency pattern," he explained, pointing to the holographic display. Based on Lieutenant Martinez's observations, we can develop weapons that adapt to these patterns in real time. General Hayes nodded. How quickly can you produce these weapons? My team has already modified a prototype. We need 2 weeks for full production. President Reyes leaned forward. We may not have 2 weeks. Our deep space relays report the Exarathi fleet is advancing toward our outer colonies. The doors to the chamber slid open, and Commander Adam Clark entered, accompanied by Lieutenant Martinez. Both looked haggard but determined. Their rescue from deep space had been a minor miracle. A passing cargo vessel had picked up their escape pod 3 days after the Guardian's destruction. Commander, Hayes acknowledged with relief. Your intelligence has been invaluable. Clark nodded. Thank you, but we need to discuss strategy. Conventional warfare will fail against the Exarathi. We need something they've never encountered. Like what? Asked Defense Minister Chen. Asymmetric warfare, said a new voice from the doorway. All heads turned to see Major William Clark, Adam's older brother. The Special Forces commander walked with a slight limp from an old battle injury, his face bearing a scar across his left cheek. The brothers hadn't spoken in years, not since their disagreement over military doctrine. Will, Adam said, surprised. William nodded curtly. The Exarathi expect us to fight like everyone else they've conquered, with direct confrontation. But humans have centuries of experience fighting against superior forces. Operation Ghost, William continued, approaching the central display. Small, elite teams infiltrating their ships. Guerrilla tactics. Hit and run attacks. We make them fight on our terms, not theirs. Martinez stepped forward. My stealth technology can be adapted for smaller vessels. We could slip past their defenses. Dr. Patel nodded enthusiastically. And I can create compact versions of the adaptive weapons. Adam and William exchanged glances. Despite their differences, both recognized the value in combining their expertise. This could work, Adam admitted. The Exarathi have never had to adapt their tactics. Their entire military doctrine is built around overwhelming force and rigid command structures. And humans, William added with a grim smile, are experts at chaos. 3 days later, the first reports came in. The Exarathi had attacked Europa Colony, the farthest human outpost in the solar system. As expected, Earth forces had retreated. In the command center, Adam watched the tactical display with President Reyes and General Hayes. Our forces are withdrawing from Jupiter's moons, Hayes confirmed. The Exarathi will see this as weakness. Adam nodded. Let them think that. Meanwhile, William's teams are in position. 6 Special Forces units have already deployed, Hayes replied. They're waiting for the Exarathi to advance past Saturn. President Reyes studied the brothers Clark as they worked on opposite sides of the command center. Adam coordinating fleet movements, William briefing his Special Forces teams via secure channel. Do you think this will work? She asked quietly. Adam watched as his brother outlined infiltration routes to his team leaders. Despite their years of estrangement, he felt a surge of pride. The Exarathi have conquered 1,200 worlds, Madam President, but they've never fought humans before. William looked up from his station, meeting his brother's gaze across the room. For the first time in years, they shared a moment of perfect understanding. The Exarathi expect us to either surrender or fight conventionally, Adam continued. They have no concept of humanity's greatest strength. Which is? Reyes asked. Adaptation, Adam replied simply. When backed into a corner, humans don't just fight harder. We change the rules of the game entirely. As they spoke, the first phase of Operation Ghost began in the darkness of space beyond Saturn's rings. Commander Adam Clark watched from the bridge of his new vessel, the Defiance, as the Exarathi fleet pushed methodically toward Mars. Their formation was perfect, a textbook approach that any first-year cadet could predict. They're so confident, Lieutenant Martinez observed, standing beside him. They haven't even changed their shield frequencies since our last encounter. Clark smiled. Pride before the fall. He opened a channel to the scattered Earth vessels hiding among the asteroid belt. All ghost units, execute pattern Delta. Remember, hit and fade. Across the vastness of space, 12 small, stealth-equipped Earth vessels powered up their engines. These ships, barely larger than shuttles, had been specifically designed for Operation Ghost. Each carried Dr. Patel's adaptive weapons and Martinez's enhanced stealth technology. The Exarathi flagship, a massive dreadnought named the Emperor's Will, led the invasion force. On its bridge, Supreme Commander Kelvax watched with disdain as Mars loomed before them. The humans continue to retreat, his lieutenant reported. Their defenses around the Red Planet are minimal. Kelvax made a dismissive gesture. As expected, prepare thee. An alarm blared as the dreadnought shuddered violently. What was that? Kelvax demanded. Unknown. Something struck our rear shields, the tactical officer replied, confusion evident in his voice. But our sensors detected nothing. Before he could investigate further, 3 more impacts rocked the ship. Status panels flashed red as systems began failing. Find them, Kelvax roared. Across the Exarathi fleet, similar scenes unfolded. Small human vessels appeared seemingly from nowhere, fired precisely targeted shots at shield weak points, then vanished again. On one of those vessels, Major William Clark guided his team with calm efficiency. Target their propulsion systems, then communications. Don't get greedy. 3 hits, then go dark. His pilot, Sergeant Kate Rivera, executed a perfect attack run on Exarathi cruiser. 3 hits confirmed. Going dark. William's ship vanished from sensors as they activated full stealth mode and drifted away. By the time the Exarathi turned their weapons toward the attack point, there was nothing to shoot at. Meanwhile, Adam Clark led a more conventional assault with the larger Earth vessels, drawing Exarathi attention to the front, while William's team struck from behind and below. They're breaking formation, Martins reported with satisfaction. Look, they're trying to cover all angles now. Adam nodded. And spreading their firepower thin in the process. For 3 days, the dance continued. The human forces never engaged directly, never presented a target worth committing to. Instead, they struck in unpredictable patterns, targeting different systems each time. The Exarathi, trained for direct confrontation and overwhelming force, found themselves unable to adapt quickly enough. Their rigid command structure required authorization for tactical changes, authorization that came too slowly. On the 4th day, William's team achieved their primary objective. Slipping past the damaged defenses of a medium-sized Exarathi cruiser, they boarded using specialized breach pods. We're in, William whispered through his comms as his team moved silently through the alien vessel, proceeding to engineering. Within an hour, they had taken control of the ship, subduing its crew with minimal casualties. Adam, this is Will, he transmitted once they secured the bridge. Package acquired. Beginning extraction. In the Earth Command Center, Dr. Patel could barely contain his excitement as the captured Exarathi vessel approached Earth under heavy escort. Do you realize what this means? He asked General Hayes. We'll have direct access to their technology, their communication systems, everything. Hayes watched as the alien ship entered orbit. How long to reverse engineer their communications? With the data we already have from Clark's missions. Days, not weeks. Across the solar system, the Exarathi fleet regrouped, their advance halted. Supreme Commander Kelvax faced the Emperor's holographic image with dread. These humans, he struggled to explain. They do not fight as others do. They strike from nowhere, disappear before we can respond. They adapt their weapons to penetrate our shields. The Emperor's 4 eyes narrowed. You assured me this would be a simple conquest. Kelvax lowered his head. I was wrong, Your Magnificence. These humans, They are unlike any species we have encountered before. Commander Adam Clark stood on the bridge of the Defiance, his face illuminated by the red emergency lighting. The ship's engines hummed at maximum power as they raced toward Neptune's orbit. "Status report," he ordered, his voice tight. Martinez looked up from her console. 17 Exarathi vessels approaching the evacuation fleet. Civilian ships are still loading. They need at least 20 more minutes. Clark clenched his jaw. The evacuation of Neptune's research bases had been underway when Exarathi scouts discovered them. Now a battle group was bearing down on thousands of defenseless civilians. "How long until we intercept?" 7 minutes, Martinez replied. "But, sir, we're outnumbered 4-1. Clark nodded grimly. "Send a message to Major William. We need ghost teams as backup." Already done. They're 18 minutes out. Too late, Clark realized. They would have to hold off the Exarathi alone until help arrived. As the Defiance approached, they could see the civilian ships desperately trying to reach minimum safe distance for jump drives. The Exarathi fleet formed a perfect attack pattern. Weapons charge. "They haven't spotted us yet," Martinez said. "Stealth systems still holding." Clark made his decision. Open a channel to the Exarathi vessels. No encryption. Martinez looked surprised but followed orders. Channel open. Clark leaned forward. "Attention, Exarathi fleet. This is Commander Adam Clark of Earth Defense Force. Your ships are entering a trap zone. For your own safety, we advise you to withdraw immediately." There was a pause. Then a harsh laugh came over the speakers. "The humans send one ship and expect us to flee. Your desperation is amusing." Clark's expression remained calm. "This is not a negotiation. This is a warning. Run." The Exarathi commander's voice dripped with contempt. "Your primitive vessel cannot stand against us. Surrender, and we may spare the civilians." Clark cut the communication and turned to his tactical officer. "Deploy Martinez's stealth mines. All of them." "Sir," the officer questioned. "That's our entire complement." "Do it." For the past month, Martinez had been developing a new weapon, self-propelled mines with the same stealth technology as their ships, each carrying one of Dr. Patel's adaptive warheads. The Defiance had been carrying 50 of these devices, waiting for the right moment. The mines silently scattered around the approaching Exarathi fleet, completely invisible to their sensors. "Mines deployed," the tactical officer confirmed. "Awaiting detonation order." Clark opened the channel again. "Final warning. Exarathi command. Run." The only response was the powering up of their weapons. "They're targeting the civilian ships," Martinez reported urgently. Clark nodded once. "Detonate all mines. Target their primary weapon systems." What followed stunned even the human crew. 50 explosions blossomed simultaneously throughout the Exarathi formation. The adaptive warheads phased through shields at their weak points, detonating directly against hull plating. Confusion erupted across the Exarathi fleet. Ships collided as captains tried to evade an enemy they couldn't see. Secondary explosions rippled through damaged vessels. "Direct hits on all targets," the tactical officer reported with awe. 14 Exarathi ships disabled or destroyed in the first wave. Clark didn't celebrate. "Bring us in. Target the remaining vessels with conventional weapons." The Defiance dropped its stealth shielding and charged into the scattered Exarathi formation. Their weapons, now calibrated to the exact frequency of Exarathi shields, cut through the alien defenses like they weren't even there. Within minutes, the entire Exarathi battle group was either destroyed or disabled. "Civilian ships report they're ready to jump," Martinez said, her voice filled with disbelief at what they'd accomplished. As the evacuation ships disappeared into safety, the Defiance's crew secured a disabled Exarathi vessel. Inside, they found a surviving officer, staring at them with a mixture of fear and bewilderment. "How?" the alien asked as Clark approached. "How did one ship defeat our entire battle group?" Clark knelt to meet the alien's eyes. "We warned you to run. The Exarethi officer's translator struggled to convey his next words. "What are you?" Clark stood. "We're humans, and you should tell your empire that they've never faced anything like us before." The Exarethi Emperor Kaxinar slammed his scaled fist against the holographic display, causing the image to flicker. Reports from across their conquered territories showed an alarming pattern. Humans were winning. "Impossible," he hissed. "How can these primitives defeat our elite forces?" Supreme General Vexlar, the most decorated military commander in Exarethi history, stood silently as the Emperor raged. Unlike his predecessors, Vexlar had studied the human tactics with careful attention. "Your Magnificence," he finally spoke, his voice deep and measured. "These humans fight unlike any species we have encountered. They do not engage directly. They adapt their weapons to our weaknesses. They change their tactics constantly." The Emperor's four eyes narrowed. "Can they be defeated?" "Every enemy can be defeated," Vexlar replied. "I request command of the Imperial Armada." "All of it." For a moment, the Emperor hesitated. The Imperial Armada comprised over 2,000 ships, nearly half of the Exarethi military might. Never before had it been committed to a single campaign. "Granted," the Emperor finally said. "End this human resistance, whatever the cost." As Vexlar departed, he reviewed the data captured from previous encounters. Unlike other Exarethi commanders, he recognized the danger these humans posed. They learned too quickly, adapted too well. In Earth's orbit, preparations for the final defense were underway. Every available ship had been outfitted with Dr. Patel's adaptive weapons and Martinez's stealth technology. Commander Adam Clark stood in the war room with President Reyes, General Hayes, and Dr. Patel. The holographic display showed the approaching Exarethi Armada, the largest concentration of alien ships ever detected. "They're adapting," Clark noted grimly. "Their formation is different, more flexible." Hayes nodded. "They finally sent someone who can think." Intelligence identifies him as Vexlar, their most successful military commander. "Never lost a campaign in 300 years. "Well, there's a first time for everything," Clark replied. The door opened, and Major William Clark entered with Lieutenant Martinez. "The Special Forces teams are ready," William reported. "But I need to speak with you privately." The brothers stepped into an adjacent room. "I'm taking a team to the Exarethi command ship," William said without preamble. Adam stared in disbelief. "That's suicide, Will. Their flagship will be the most heavily defended vessel in the fleet, which is why they won't expect it." William handed his brother a data drive. "Martins developed an improved stealth system. We can get in." "To do what?" "You can't hope to defeat their entire command structure." William smiled grimly. "Not planning to fight them. Just going to deliver a message." Before Adam could argue further, alarms blared throughout the base. The Exarethi advance fleet had arrived at the outer defense perimeter. For the next 12 hours, Earth forces engaged the Exarethi in a series of hit-and-run attacks, following the strategies that had worked before. But this time, the Exarethi responded differently, adapting their formations, changing shield frequencies, setting traps of their own. "They're learning," Martins said as another Earth vessel reported heavy damage. In the darkness of space, William Clark's small stealth ship approached the massive Exarethi flagship. Using the chaos of battle as cover, they slipped past the outer defenses and located a maintenance airlock. "Boarding team ready," Sergeant Rivera confirmed as they prepared their breach equipment. William nodded. "Remember, we get in, place the package, and get out. No heroics." They entered the alien vessel with practiced efficiency, moving through dimly lit corridors toward the command center. Years of Special Forces training allowed them to avoid patrols and security systems. When they reached the central command deck, William didn't attempt to enter. Instead, he placed a small device on the door, not a bomb, but a message projector. "Package delivered," he whispered into his comm. "Withdrawing now." As they retreated, William activated the device remotely. Inside the command center, Supreme General Vexlar watched in shock as a holographic message appeared before him. In perfect Exarathi script, 2 simple words: run. By the time Vexlar ordered security to the location, William's team had already disappeared back into the darkness of the massive ship, leaving behind only uncertainty and fear among the Exarathi command. Supreme General Vexlar stood motionless on the bridge of his flagship as the massive Exarathi armada moved into Earth orbit. His normally impassive face showed the faintest trace of concern. The human message, "Run," continued to trouble them. All ships in position. Supreme General, his second-in-command reported, awaiting your order to begin the assault. Through the view screen, the blue-green planet hung suspended in the blackness of space. The human defense fleet seemed pitifully small against the might of the Imperial Armada, barely 400 ships against his 2,000. Yet Vexlar hesitated. Supreme General, his officer prompted. The humans have surprised us at every turn, Vexlar said quietly. This situation feels wrong. Before he could elaborate, alarms blared across the command deck. Multiple energy signatures appearing behind our formation, the sensor officer shouted. Vexlar spun around. Show me. The tactical display revealed hundreds of new contacts materializing throughout his fleet. Not ships, something smaller. They're the human stealth mines, his weapons officer realized too late. Commander Adam Clark watched from the Earth flagship Defiance as Dr. Patel's newest weapons activated. For weeks, Earth vessels had been seeding space with thousands of dormant stealth platforms, not just mines, but autonomous weapon systems equipped with the latest adaptive technology. All defense platforms online, Martins confirmed. Phase 1 initiated. The platforms began targeting Exarathi engines and weapons systems with precision strikes, creating chaos throughout their perfect formation. Unlike previous encounters, the humans didn't flee or hide. They advanced directly toward the confused Exarathi fleet. All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega, Clark ordered calmly. Major William, you're clear to proceed. In a smaller command vessel, William Clark led 300 specially modified ships toward the heart of the Exarathi formation. These vessels carried Earth's secret weapon, the technology Dr. Patel had reverse-engineered from the captured Exarathi cruiser. Activate disruptor fields, William commanded. The effect was immediate and devastating. Waves of energy pulsed outward, temporarily disabling Exarathi communication systems. Their carefully coordinated fleet suddenly found itself unable to receive orders or share tactical information. On his flagship, Vexlar watched in growing horror as his armada began to fracture. What is happening? He demanded. Unknown energy field is blocking all communications, his officer reported. Ships are fighting individually. No coordination. For the first time in his 300-year career, Vexlar felt something new. Doubt. The battle raged for hours. Earth ships moved with perfect coordination, while Exarathi vessels fought alone, confused and increasingly desperate. The humans seemed to anticipate every counter-strategy, adapting faster than the Exarathi could respond. As his flagship shuddered from another direct hit, Vexlar made an unprecedented decision. Send a general broadcast on all frequencies, he ordered. Request to discuss terms. His officers stared in disbelief. The Exarathi Empire had never negotiated during battle. On the Defiance, Clark received the message with surprise. They want to talk, he told President Reyes via secure channel. Can we trust them? She asked. Clark glanced at his brother's image on a separate screen. William nodded slowly. I believe so, Clark answered. Their commander is smart enough to know when he's beaten. Hours later, aboard a neutral vessel positioned between the fleets, Commander Adam Clark and Major William Clark faced Supreme General Vexlar across a hastily arranged conference table. Your species, Vexlar began, is unlike any we have encountered in 12 centuries of conquest. You were technologically inferior, yet you adapted. You were outnumbered, yet you prevailed. Humans have a long history of fighting against the odds. Adam replied simply. The peace terms were straightforward. Earth and its colonies would remain independent. The HFY Empire would withdraw from human space. A formal treaty would establish diplomatic relations between equals. As Vexillar prepared to depart, he asked one final question. Your warning, run, was it merely psychological warfare? The Clark brothers exchanged glances. No, William answered honestly. It was genuine advice. In the months that followed, word spread throughout the galaxy. The mighty HFY Empire had been stopped by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Other subjugated worlds began to resist, inspired by Earth's example. 5 years after the historic treaty with the HFY Empire, Earth had changed in ways few could have imagined. The planet now stood as a rising power in galactic politics, respected and sometimes feared. Commander Adam Clark, recently promoted to admiral, walked through the gleaming halls of the new Interspecies Diplomatic Center in Geneva. Delegates from 17 alien civilizations mingled in the grand atrium, many from worlds formerly under Xerathi control. Admiral Clark, called the melodic voice, a tall, blue-skinned Illyrian approach, her translucent fins shimmering in the artificial light. Ambassador Nia sent her regards. Our people are eternally grateful for Earth's assistance in our independence negotiations. Adam smiled warmly. I'm glad we could help. How is the rebuilding effort going? Remarkably well. Your engineering teams have been invaluable. As they spoke, Dr. Nathan Patel hurried across the atrium, his face alight with excitement. In the years since the war, Patel had become Earth's foremost expert on xenotechnology, heading the new Galactic Science Initiative. Adam, you won't believe what we've discovered, he said, barely containing his enthusiasm. Remember those ancient ruins that Xerathi were excavating in the Andromeda sector? They weren't Xerathi in origin at all. The symbols match early human writing systems. Adam raised an eyebrow. That's impossible. Humans never ventured beyond our solar system until recently. Exactly, Patel grinned. Yet there it is. Undeniable evidence that humans, or something remarkably similar, existed on other worlds thousands of years ago. Before Adam could process this revelation, his communication device beeped. Lieutenant Martinez, now Captain Martinez and commander of Earth's first deep space exploration vessel, appeared on the small holographic display. Admiral, we've made contact with the Ceridian Alliance at the galaxy's edge, she reported. They've invited us to their homeworld. But there's something strange. They claim they've been expecting us for centuries. The mystery deepened 2 days later when Major William Clark, who now led Earth's diplomatic security forces, discovered ancient texts in the Xerathi Imperial Archives. The documents, older than the Empire itself, contained prophecies of a species called the Adaptable Ones, who would one day break the cycle of conquest and bring balance to the galaxy. In his private office at Earth Fleet Headquarters, Adam reviewed these developments with President Reyes and the newly formed Galactic Affairs Council. So multiple alien cultures have legends about humans, despite us never having contact with them before now. Reyes asked incredulously. It appears so, Adam confirmed. And there's more. The Xerathi archives mention an ancient species that seeded the galaxy with life, including, potentially, early humans on multiple worlds. General Hayes, her hair now streaked with gray, leaned forward. Are you suggesting humans didn't originate on Earth? Or perhaps we did, and were then transplanted elsewhere, Williams suggested. Either way, it explains why so many species share basic biological similarities. The meeting was interrupted when a junior officer burst in. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from beyond the galactic barrier. The gathered leaders rushed to the command center, where a strange signal was being decoded. When the translation finally appeared on screen, a hushed silence fell over the room. The message read, "The children of Earth have finally found their voice. The test is complete. Prepare for reunion." Adam exchanged glances with his brother. "What does it mean?" William shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but it seems our story is just beginning." As news of the message spread across Earth, humans looked to the stars with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Their victory over the Exarathi had proven humanity's potential, but now an even greater challenge awaited. "Whatever comes next," Adam said as he gazed up at the night sky, "humanity will face it the same way we always have, together, adaptable and unafraid." In the vast darkness between galaxies, something ancient stirred, watching as the species it had nurtured so long ago took its first steps into a larger universe.